Hi, I'm tax attorney Dan Urban. I was born in Chicago, I love Chicago, and even though I now live just outside of Chicago, I still say Chicago if someone from out of state asks me where I'm from. If you are a Chicagoland resident, you know that Chicago is deeply in debt, and they have a long list of miscellaneous taxes that they charge in an attempt to close their budget gap. Parking tax, leased property tax, ground transportation tax, fountain soft drink tax, and the list goes on. Chicago.gov actually keeps a list of all of them, and if you count them up, there are 29 different miscellaneous Chicago taxes. If you live in Chicago or do business in Chicago and are subject to any one of these 29 taxes, the Chicago Department of Finance could select you for an audit to determine if you are complying with the law and paying what they think you should be paying in taxes. When the Chicago Department of Finance decides to audit you, they start by sending a letter called an initial discovery notice. The initial discovery notice gives the period under investigation, which is typically between 3 or 6 years or so, gives the contact information for your specially assigned Chicago Department of Finance auditor, and provides a pretty narrow window of time, often just 10 days, to submit a questionnaire about how your business operates to your Chicago auditor. Eventually, you will need to submit sales or other data to the Chicago Department of Finance to determine what sales may be subject to Chicago tax. And to complicate things further, many of these taxes Chicago charges have pretty sizable exceptions. For example, the Chicago parking tax does not apply to residential off-street parking for those that live within 2 blocks of the parking lot. Another example is the Chicago lease tax. If you bundle a non-taxable service with a taxable lease of property and can prove that that service accounts for over 50% of your invoice, only the portion not allocated to the service is taxable. So, as a further example, a business that rents tablecloths to catering companies is likely subject to the lease tax, but maybe not 100% of their revenue is subject to the tax if they can show that they also provide a non-taxable service, like transporting and cleaning of those tablecloths. So these are pretty big exceptions, but if you want Chicago to grant you the benefit of the exceptions, you have to assemble and present documentation to Chicago and ultimately convince them that you qualify for the exception. To give yourself the best chance of paying nothing more to the Chicago Department of Finance than the law requires, you need a detailed understanding of the law, a well put together submission of information, and you must successfully present that information to the Chicago Auditor. And if you are the subject of an audit from the Chicago Department of Finance and would like some help, check the link in my bio. I'm tax attorney Dan Urban, and I'll see you around the city.